Joining. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Okay, I think we're live now. Or we're live now, yes. So let me just unmute our panelists. Please, can you make Franklin a co-host as well? Okay, so we have a lot more people now. Fantastic. Sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, so I think we're live. Yes. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Olamide. I'm an incoming MBA candidate at UVA Darden. Sorry, please kindly mute yourself as you join. I'm just going to ensure that it's sorted from my end. Yes. Yes. So it's Franklin as well. Yes. So I'm an incoming MBA candidate at UVA Darden, and I am also a junior partner in charge of programs and innovation at Lane. I am joined by my colleagues. So there's Samuel, there's Samuel, I think it's Samuel. Yes, Samuel and Miriam as well. Our session today is about how to bag application fee waivers for your MBA application. And this session, I was just mentioning earlier that this session was put together due to a lot of the feedback we've gotten during all the sessions and people asking how were you able to save money during your MBA application. And a lot of our panelists have actually talked about how this really helped them to save money because they didn't have to pay for application fee waivers, even if they applied to as many schools as possible. So we thought that this would be a great opportunity for you to be able to learn how to save money on your application during your application process as well, and ensure that you actually apply to some of these schools for free. So yes, it is real. It's not unattainable. It is attainable. And yes, Lane has made this very possible. So to start our session, I would hand over to Samuel to do introductions about Lane and before we kickstart the panelist session. Samuel. Is Samuel there? Samuel. Just give us 1 second. Let me just confirm if Samuel is.
All right. Yes, Olamide.
Okay, awesome.
Quick one. So I'm just going to share my screen and we'll quickly just walk us through Lane. First of all, thank you very much for joining us today. We are more than happy to have you. As we normally say, and for many of you are part of the community, what we were trying to build just transcends trying to get into business schools, but most importantly, being able to leverage that experience for the continent as a whole. So first of all, right now, what we're trying to do is we're focusing on increasing Africa's representation in global MBA programs. And the whole goal of doing that is so that we can build an economically and politically inclusive continent that is self-perpetuating. And we plan to do this by equipping young Africans like you to identify, support, execute practical ventures to drive Africa's inclusive growth and development in a coordinated, efficient, and sustainable manner. But we know that all that starts with capacity. And we believe that the MBA program is one express way to give you that capacity and capability that many other routes might take a longer time to give you. We have our aims and objectives in 5 five distinct lines. One, we're hoping to empower young Africans by supporting 1,000 Africans into 150 global MBA program in 7 years. And by you participating today and working on some of those things that you would learn today, we're hoping that you would be part of that 1,000 Africans. I think we are a little under 100 yet for now, but we hope that we can push that figure even higher in the next 7 years. So we're hoping to strengthen existing communal connections among African MBA students by connecting the majority of African business clubs across MBA programs in the next 5 years. So think of it as an umbrella group for African business clubs across multiple business schools. We also want to provide qualified MBA enthusiasts and students and allow them access to a network of recruiters and incubation program. This hopefully, as we grow, would be able to do this for our members. The fourth one is to bridge the gap between quality MBA education and talented Africans by creating a win-win partnership with top 100 global MBA programs to diversity exposure and support programs in the next 5 years. So given that this is our goal, we are hoping that we can achieve all this shortly. The fifth one will be ensuring continual pipeline of promising MBA applicants by partnering with African universities. And think about it, if you add that opportunity when you were in the university, where someone had told you about MBA program, exposed you to some of the things that you needed to achieve while doing that, it would have been way easier for you too. So we're hoping that we can then begin to go into universities one of those days rather, and get more people in. So yeah, a guiding principle to quickly run through that: we want selfless people. We encourage diversity. We ask for creativity. We want inclusive minds, and we hope that you would be accountable, or we expect that you'll be accountable in your obligations to the community and to yourself. So it's funny because I would have said Franklin will share the link, but today
don't worry, I'll share the link. I'll share the link.
Yeah, is our guest, and I'm grateful. I'm happy that people who used to be on the other side of where you are now on this side, and it's exciting and happy for us. So yep, I will yield over to you, Olamide, and thank you guys to our guests, Francis and Franklin, for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Samuel. Thank you very much. So welcome everyone that is just joining us. So many familiar faces, and I think our panelists here today as well. They're equally friends of the house. We have our very own Franklin. Sorry, someone is not on mute. Okay, let me just check. Yes, so we have our very own Franklin, and we also have Frances on sessions today. So before we start the panelist session, I would like to introduce our moderator for today. Her name is Miriam. So she is she's in charge of engagement on Lane. So I would like to hand over to her. And then, yes, I would be handling questions in the comment section. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop. And then I would answer that. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you so much, Lamide. Good evening to everyone. Welcome to another Lane session. And as she said, we have two panelists. They'll be talking about how to bag your application fee waiver on your MBA application journey. Can everybody hear me? Okay, so we have two panelists, like I said. The first up is Franklin Wachuku, who is an MBA admit at Terry Business School, University of Georgia. And we also have Francis Obieze, who is also an MBA admit at Mission Business School, William and Mary. So please, I will be turning this over to them for a brief introduction of themselves and a brief educational background. So please, Francis and Franklin, who would like to take over? Hello.
Yeah, I'll let Franklin start. Open the floor,
Okay.
if that's okay.
Thank you. Franklin, over to you, please.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you, Francis, for allowing me to start the session. Apologies for my video. I'm trying to fix that. Anyways, so my name is Franklin Wachuku. I am a Terry MBA admit at Terry College of Business, University of Georgia. I'll be joining this fall to pursue my MBA. My background is in nonprofits, venture building, startups, and technology as well. Looking to pivot into management consulting post MBA, and looking forward to having a great session with you guys. Yeah, it feels good to be at the other side of things. Granted that last year I joined Lane, and I was just like every single one on this webinar trying to like find a way to make the best out of my application. So happy to share.
Thank you. Francis, you're up next, please.
Okay, hi everyone, good evening. Apologies too for my video. My network is crappy. It took a while to join the session, so I'll just prefer to have the audio so I can be online. Yeah, my name is Frances Obiezu. I'm an MBA admit to Raymond A. Mason School of Business, William and Mary. I have a background my first degree is in electrical electronics engineering. I've worked in the financial services and consulting industries for a period of 8 years. I worked in process improvement, business re-engineering, and project management. I'm looking forward to a wonderful session with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis. Okay, so we'll start with some questions. So, when either of you started thinking about your MBA, what role did financing the MBA play in your decision making towards getting your MBA?
Francis, do you want to go first or should I go?
Go ahead, Franklin.
Okay, so for me, basically, there was a goal, and the major goal was I wanted to switch careers, I wanted to switch industries, and I wanted to, level up in the corporate ladder. To do that, I already identified the MBA as my route, but I also wanted to be sure that I had a way to like finance that. So right from the go, from the from the word go, I had in my Excel sheet 3 words, deal breakers. And my 3 deal breakers, number 1 was I didn't even put funding, I put full funding. Like I was very, 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 particular about what I wanted because, I'm first gen, low income, high performing. So basically for me, I was like, what do I need to do to get there? So for financing the MBA, I knew that I had to go to a school that, had considerable funding options. Yeah. Quite interesting school list was HBS, Stanford, Wharton, the GSB was there as well, and Michigan Ross. And when I shared that with somebody on this call, he graciously told me, Franklin, you have to learn how to make like the best decision for yourself, because at the end of the day, this is not a workable decision, and you need to ensure that you have like everything pretty much lined up. So I'd say funding and financing the MBA was a huge factor for me.
Thank you. Francis?
Okay, for me, finance was a big deal and it's still a big deal, right? But like I shared in one of the sessions, one of the things that helped me before I started this whole MBA journey was knowing what I did not want. So many people start with what they know what they want, but I don't think I started with knowing what I wanted. I started with knowing what I did not want. And one of the things I didn't want was to miss this academic year without being in school doing my MBA. I didn't want that. And as funny as it sounds, I'm not an abroad freak though, but I didn't want to be in Nigeria by this time next year, just doing work and all that. So, that's knowing what I didn't want. I knew how passionately I didn't want these two things. I didn't want the year to pass me by because I already had 12 years on my career. So I felt if I miss this year, it's going to be tough for me, adding some personal stuff, mixing it up. So this was my best year. So that clarity helped me pursue my journey with passion and with every energy inside of me. So that was there. And then the money factor was definitely a big deal with what exchange rate was doing. Okay, so let me now add, knowing that I really wanted to do this year, I was going to apply to as many schools as possible. And definitely I didn't have that money to spend. Application fee, $100, $60, $70, some schools $250. So I didn't have that to experiment with. So money, funding, and all the freebies out there was really a big deal for me.
Thank you so much. Francis, you've already started on our third question, so we'll just keep you on it. How many MBA programs did you actually finally apply to? And how many of them did you get application waivers for? And like you've been estimating in the US dollars, please, could you just give us a full estimate?
Okay, so I had 15 application fee waivers. And I think that eventually, when I was sure that I had closed the door on applying, I was certain on where I was going to, I still got like 2 extra, but I didn't look at them again. So I got, when I counted, I had 15 application fee waivers. I applied to about 8 schools. I couldn't keep up. So I had more waivers than I could keep up with. I couldn't keep up with the number. So I didn't complete the application for the other schools. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, thank you so much. That's a lot of schools and a lot of applications. How were you able to manage applying to 15 schools?
Okay. I think that's really why I had to start with what I didn't want, because of that. I think that's where all the energy and all that came from, because I knew that these schools on the average were very good. Even when we say this one is ranking this and all of that, every top 100 business school, even the ones that are not in the top 100, sometimes I researched some unranked business schools and I knew why they were not ranked, not because they were not good, but wherever they're ranked. But you find out that on the average, these schools were really exceptional. So I was going to look into everywhere that I felt I could get a quality MBA, a quality degree with good prospects. So the energy somehow just came because I really wanted to get this, I think. So that was how I was able to push.
Thank you. So what you're saying is, for other candidates that are willing to apply or looking to apply, it's better not to just look at the high-ranking ones, but we should look at other schools that might have slipped the rank and actually have better programs or actually have good programs in a bid to be able to increase our chances.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ola, I saw your comment. Yes, I was in every webinar. Like I was awake 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. I was awake through the night, through the day. I was everywhere, So I just try to be visible everywhere. And your personal research, much more than what is handed over to you, you have to seek out information for yourself. In Nigeria, this is a sweeping statement, but let me go ahead with the statement. In Nigeria, we just move with the trend. Everyone says it's Coke, so we all drink Coke. Everyone says it's this. You know, we don't take time to do our personal research. So apart from the big names, everyone says, oh, we are going to America. So everybody says, oh, it's America. There are other places other than America. I'm going to the US though. I'm just saying that when you do your personal research, you find out much information. There's a reason why even Americans go to these other schools. Dig a little deeper and you see that there's so much out there that we can take advantage of.
Thank you so much. So I hope you are following. The take home here is make sure you do your personal research. Do not follow the train and go nowhere. Go follow the train that you have an idea of where it's going, how fast it's going, and what the stops are. So personal research, key word, personal research. Franklin, we're not leaving you out. Please come on board. Let us hear from you. How many programs did you apply to? How many waivers did you get?
So when I started off with my school list, we had what was called the opportunity sheet, and I feel like it's still grossly underutilized because on that list you have all the schools, like ranked programs and all their deadlines, and then you also have a sheet that has the schools that give full tuition scholarships. So what I did was I just copied that sheet in terms of each of the schools. I wrote everything down and copied into my Excel sheet. And I had a list of about 30 schools. And that was what I said, okay, this is what I'm going to springboard on. But looking at through the programs, the curriculum and everything, I was able to select 11 schools that I eventually zeroed in based off of, different, dynamics, the curriculum and every other thing. As at the time, I had already started networking. So on a good week, I would have a minimum of 15 to 20 coffee chats. 15 to 20 coffee chats. Some people in this call know. So by mid round 2, I had 21 application fee waivers, from programs and stuff. And I was like, at the end of the day, some of the schools, we'll get to that part later, but some of these schools, I didn't even know that I had done the background work for them. I would have a session, and then what would follow is someone is trying to tell me that, the admissions director reaches out and says, oh, thank you, Franklin, for joining this session and for, really engaging with our program. We're giving you application fee waiver. So there was a school that was proving difficult, Kellogg. So when I was checking out Kellogg, I said, you know what, it's a top school. They said they don't give waivers. I said, I will get, what do they need? What do they want? So for me, it was a matter of toasting them. You have to gas them up, right? So when you get to, I feel like you will get to get to this part later, right? So there was this person that was okay, reach out to this person and have a conversation, show interest in the program and everything. It's just basic, you're trying to, make someone happy. And you say, this guy, it looks okay, he's interested and all that. It's okay, let's give him this waiver. Michigan Ross as well. They were they never, ever give anybody waiver. I said, watch, just watch. I'm going to. So, and also I got the waiver for Michigan Ross. Someone said, Kelly, never, ever have they ever given anybody. After having my third coffee chat with one of the student ambassadors, he emailed me, he sent me a message on Skype and was like, oh my God, we'd love to have you the program and all. And then the admissions director followed, through and said, so person said, you're a good fit for the program, to enable you apply or give you an application fee waiver. And that was how I ended up with, so it was kind of 21 and counting. So I ended up not counting some of the ones I got, download the brochure and get automatic, but the ones that I consciously targeted, 21 schools. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so Franklin just blew us out of the water. We are still in shock. We are coming back down to earth. But I think we can learn a lot from what he just said. So as usual, you have to do your personal research. Know what fits you, what fits your journey before you go for it. And then go for it with all you have. 15 to 20 coffee chats. My goodness. I'll still process that word. But please, let's make sure to emulate the art of persuasion. Go after those people. I remember last time I had a discussion and it got to a point where the admission officer was like, you know what? Make sure you just keep hammering on that funding, because I feel funding has been underrepresented for Africans especially. Keep hammering on it, and somewhere along the line, somebody will be like, okay, you know what? Since so many people are asking for it, let's try and create some kind of funding for that. And Kellogg, somebody got Kellogg waiver. Like, from what Olamide is saying in the chat, we can see how very difficult it is. But he kept hammering on it. So let's try to be more determined. And well, what can I say? Frankly, you're a hero. You are my personal hero. In fact, you are my mentor. We'll follow you up on that. So thank you so much for blowing our minds. But we're going to the next question, which Franklin actually has even destroyed for us. Like, how were you able to secure app fee waivers, the programs you applied to? Could you just, like, okay, let's just go to Francis. Could you just give us a walk, like a play-by-play of how you went through the process, securing the app waiver and everything? At least Francis has already told us he did. Wow, he did the impossible. As far as I'm concerned, he did the impossible. But please, Francis, tell us your own experience. Francis, are you there?
Well, Franklin, yes, I am. Can you hear me? I think my network is beginning to fluctuate again. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can.
All right. Yeah, Franklin, wow. In fact, that was really amazing. Okay, for me, during the course of my journey, I found out that some schools, I think the one I remember vividly was Fisher's, Ohio State University. I had put in my name to attend their webinar, and I learned that there was going to be an app fee waiver after the webinar. And then I was just going through their website and saw some videos and all of that, and I clicked one of the videos. After watching it, voila, my reward for watching that video was an app fee waiver. So I didn't even need the webinar to get the fee waiver. So that was what I discovered unknowingly by going through their website and clicking on videos and watching some of the webinars already saved on their sites. Also, I reached out to, I tried to be visible at webinars. My video was always on, so that's why I had to really apologize for having it off. So I always turned on my video. I always try to make my name to be seen. Asking is saying, you just find out that the process requires energy. So you just try to make your energy obvious, you know, put in, be very attentive towards the session, and immediately after a session, you fire a mail. Oh, what appreciation mail, fantastic mail. It was a fantastic session, blah, blah, whatever it is. You know, introduce yourself to the admission officer and all of that, and just try to make a conversation. So I did that. I requested outrightly for waivers via mail, and I think that was it. Okay, yes, I think there's a place where you have to tick for to be able to receive email from school. Can they forward your results to schools and all of that? So when the schools start advertising, start sending their mails and adverts and all that, after you write your GMAT test, you can also use that avenue to try to engage them and say, yeah, I really like your school. I'm interested in your school. This, but I'm very particular about an application fee waiver. So that was it for my own journey.
Oh, thank you so much for that. Okay, so I want to just quickly call us back to the opportunity sheet that Franklin spoke about. I think it should still be available on the Telegram group. So if you're interested in using it, like Franklin has actually stated, it's very underutilized. Please just go to the Telegram group, check on the, I think when you click on the
I would
profile, you get,
share.
okay, thank
I
you.
would share on the group once again.
Okay.
So it's only
All right,
people
so
that are on the Telegram group that would be able to access it.
yeah, so if you're in the WhatsApp, you haven't moved, please migrate. You're missing a lot. There's a lot of information on there, and you can always track the documents that you need anytime, any day. Okay, so let's move on. I want to just know what was the key success factor in clinching that application waiver and getting that admission? Because for most of us, yeah, you can get that application waiver, but you don't necessarily get the admission. So what exactly was that key success factor for the both of you that actually helped you clinch that admission through the application waiver as well?
Okay, I think I can start on that.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so first of all, Frances is goated. Forget all this one that she's saying. She's goated when it comes to this waiver business. I'd also like to say interest is very, very important. So if you want to actually get into a school, you have to show up. There are two things that you must have. There are two things you need, and then you can make do with one. The first one is time. The second one is money. So if you don't have money to, apply to GSB, Kellogg, INSEAD, and you have to have their time. Like you have to. So what I would do for the whole application cycle period, I would go to each of the schools that I was going to apply to. I would download their brochure. That's the first thing I do. Then I would request information. Usually, a lot of people underrate requesting information. What basically you're trying to say is, take my first name, my last name, and my email, and that's my data. It's fine, right? You can make it available to me. And what happens is you get like first-hand dibs on application events and all those things. But the key thing for me was ensuring that I did not take those waivers for granted. So even though I got 21, I got waivers for 21 schools, right? And I only did like about 11. The other 10, so it got to a point where when I knew that I wasn't going to like finally apply to Kelly, I had to reach out to someone who came to me and said, see, I don't have this money and this is my number one school. And I was like, I have a waiver I can give. And then I gave out the code to the person and the person used it instead. Because, waivers are resources, basically. They are giving those things out like as a way of like self-help, so the school is also supposed to generate some revenue from application fee waivers. And if you're not paying for that, you might as well, if you're getting it for free, you might as well gift it to someone as like your way of encouraging them to, go and get that stuff done. So first off, coffee chat. You can never go wrong with the head of diversity recruiting for that school. So for example,
Franklin, please, can you explain what a coffee chat is? Because I feel like this is a language for people that have gone through the MBA process.
Oh, great. Thanks for that. So for everyone listening, basically a coffee chat is usually a 15 to 30 minutes informal conversation between an MBA applicant, fresh admits, current student or graduate with another MBA admit, current student, admissions director or associate MBA director. Usually it happens, between someone who is planning to apply and someone who is already in the school. And the major reason for why people have coffee chats is they want to, like Frances said, they want to feel your energy. They want to see if you vibe. So coffee chats were very useful for me in the sense that I would have a coffee chat and instantly know if I wanted to apply to that school. So I had conversations with some people are smiling already anyways. I had conversations with people with this call that, I just had the coffee chat and that school just seems very dead to me. Like, how is it possible that in your whole program, you have one African, and that African is a Nigerian who is a US permanent resident who did his undergrad in the US. I'm like, this thing is not working. I cannot, no, no. So you have to know what you want, right? If you are going to apply to HBS, thankfully, I mean, if I was applying to HBS this year, I'm sure that app fee waiver program they have, I will target them so much that they'll just be like, this boy, just take and go, because like you've troubled us too much. See, you have to follow up with these people, up to the point that you can genuinely see that you really want to get into that school. And, there's a thin line between utilizing these opportunities and taking undue advantage of them, because I know that there's some people that just, walk into places and say, you know what, I'm just going to get the app fee waiver I'm just going to get it. If you have absolutely no interest in that school, some schools have quotas for application fee waiver. Just, maybe don't pursue it. But if you're hoping that, okay, there's a possibility that I may be applying to this school, go for it. And MBA for Africa webinars gifted me with like 8 to 10 like automatic waivers, because every single time after MBA for Africa, when I'm filling the forms and they say, how did you hear about us? I'll put MBA tour, I'll put Poet and Quant, and then I'll put City of Lane. And what began to happen was, every single time I joined their sessions outside of Lane, they would be like, hi, Franklin. And, they would like wave at me and all that, like, because then they had already known me from like 3 other places. And they'll be like, oh, like you were in the previous conversation. Could you explain to this person who's just joining us for the first time? And here I was, someone who was applying to the school, explaining some things to another person just like me that is also trying to apply to the school. Like, if I ask you for application fee waiver, you're going to give me, because you know that we mean serious business. So if you can't afford that you're applying to, and basically clinch it.
Wow, thank you. Well, I just learned something now. I didn't know that you could actually gift your application fee waiver. Is that allowed across board, or just few schools will allow you to do that? Franklin, are you there?
Okay, so I will jump in on that. So yes, you are allowed. Also, there are some schools that also have special codes for people from underrepresented countries. So there are schools like Darden that have codes for people from Africa. So if they like you, they send you the code. The code generally works for everyone. So there are very few schools that will send you dedicated codes. Some of those codes that can actually be gifted to somebody else, but most times people don't share it because they want to use it for themselves, and they already imputed their information as well. So I think another tip is for people to ensure that while you are going for some of these sessions, also try to network with other people as well. So you might get to meet people. A lot of the sessions that I joined, webinars in the middle of the night, Frances and Franklin, they were 2 people that you would constantly see their faces, right? They were there. So if we had conversations, we always had conversations about, okay, what do we think about the school, what the presentation was and stuff. So like we always had like recap sessions between ourselves, within Lane, right? For some of these schools, and we were constantly sharing information. So I think beyond you going into these places for yourself as well, always ensure that you network, because when you are missing out, somebody else will be able to help you out with that.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know that. I actually got an app free waiver that I didn't use because I missed the mark, and I was like, hi, if I had known that, I would have just given it out to somebody else. But thank you so much for that information. But okay, so what you're saying is we can actually get an app free waiver gifted, and you can get from, okay, so where else can we get app free waivers from? Francis, could you help us out with that? Where else could we actually get app free waivers from? Are they lying on the streets of MBA, MBA applications? Or do we have to go somewhere specific? Are they events? Are they conferences? Are they MBA tours like Franklin just mentioned? Where are these places that we can go to and get an application waiver? Because for some schools, reaching out to them can
Yes,
work.
I think Yes. One of the places you can get an app fee waiver that we've not mentioned is from Lane. Yeah. So when you attend some webinars organized by Lane, so they actually give app fee waivers. So the schools give the people who attended the sessions app waiver. So you can get from Lane, you can get from MBA Tour, you can get, there are so many programs, tours, and all.
Okay. Thank you. We're almost through with questions. So please, if you have a personal question, you can put it in our chat box and Olamide will let us know how much you want to know about this, because I think you're missing out if you don't ask a question. Franklin, the MVP of MBA app fee waivers is here. Please,
So,
let's utilize
sorry,
this moment.
Miriam, so
Yes.
let me just complete what Frances was trying to say before she broke off.
Okay.
So I will just list a few places to look out for application fee waivers. So number one is Lane. So we have the MBA for Africa sessions that are starting with schools next month, actually. And last year, so I know we hosted 12 schools, and I think all of them actually gave out application fee waivers, all of them. Even schools like Mark Holmes, who actually don't give application fee waivers, actually gave everyone that attended the Lane webinars. So I'm just saying this in the future, if you join any of the MBA for Africa sessions, just ensure that you fill in the sheets that are sent during the sessions, because it's only people that actually fill in their details that the schools would actually send the application fee waivers to, only on Lane. So the second place most people have actually gotten application fee waivers is the MBA tour, the MBA tour for Africa. And this usually takes place in October and I think February or around March every year. So there will be one in October. So please look out for that information. We will also definitely share it on Lane. Then the third place, and this is also for women as well. So if you're a woman considering the MBA, there's also the Forte conference. It usually starts around, I think, September, October as well. So the Forte conference brings together as many schools as possible, giving women the opportunity to actually apply to MBA programs. So all the programs that actually that come to the conference, the virtual conference, actually give application fee waivers. So there are so many of us that I know that bagged from last year. Frances, Abimbola, Hosanna, like a lot of us actually bagged a lot of application fee waivers from attending some of those Forte sessions as well. Then in addition to that as well, the school sessions that Franklin and Frances already talked about as well. So signing up and reaching out to the schools are very, very important. Beyond networking, you can actually get that, communicate with them and also further network to get application fee waivers. But there are more places where you can actually get application fee waivers. Get information from the school's websites. Some schools will tell you it's impossible, but Franklin has just told us that there's nothing impossible about this process. There is nothing. Like, he bagged Kellogg's application fee waiver, and I don't think any of us had actually got that. So let me just leave this to Franklin so that Franklin can jump on and give us more of his tips.
Definitely, Olamide. So, Forte, if you're, female, you have every right to, use Forte. There are some schools that they're just very difficult with app fee waivers. Forte helps to, at least lower the barrier so that, you're able to access a few. And then again, it feels like that coffee chat. See, coffee chats are very, very helpful because schools like HAS is only during a coffee chat that they will tell you that there's a PDF document that you can fill, that, they will tell you that actually for US permanent residents, but from that PDF document, you can also get, internationals can also get, app fee waivers. And it's really it's something that a lot of people don't know. Then Puerto and Con, surprisingly, has some sessions that they advertise on their website. So if you're applying for an MBA here, I advise you, please register on Puerto and Con. So Lamdi will back me up here. They have so many amazing resources, create an account, sign up for, their sessions. You can also see how they view, they do like live application review sessions where they would bring like some stats of a person and check the possibility that the person could get into the schools that they are looking into. So that really does help, in terms of getting into the school proper. And then very, very important as well, you need to check for sessions that are organized by 2-3 schools. So I know there's a time when Michigan Ross has and one other school, I can't remember, it's either Cornell or Wharton, one school like that. I think yes, Columbia. The 3 schools had a joint session, and I think I found out either on Port and Quant or Center Court, and there was a survey that they asked everyone to fill. And it was just like, it was a long survey, it was like 8 minutes. I know a lot of us in Nigeria do not like, they don't like, we don't like surveys. But if you can take 8 minutes out of your day so that you can get $200 waived out of your application, I think that's fair enough. Clear admit as well, like, apart from the hypertension of people getting in and getting rejected, Clear Admit also has a very, very good repository. And do not forget to sign up for MBA for Africa. Like, it's almost automatic. Like, you stay till the end of the session, you fill out the Excel sheet, you have the waiver in your inbox a few weeks later. Like, that really does help, Yeah, but at the core of it, those coffee chats really do help. And then downloading the brochure. So I have like this, I used to do like this 3-step process for anyone who's like really, really interested. Probably, we can find a way to see how we can aggregate some specific information for each of these schools as much as we can. Not promising, but we'll see how we can get that done. But basically, there's this 3-step process I had. So I would go to the school's website, I would go to the contact us, then afterwards I would request information, then download the brochure. So for a lot of schools that have their websites very AI driven, what typically happens is once I download the brochure, somebody from associate admissions director, or like an MBA officer, admission officer will reach out and say, hey, we can see that you're interested in our program and we have our round 2 deadline coming up in 3 weeks or 4 weeks or something like that. To help you, expedite your application, here's an app fee waiver from us as a sign of appreciation. And here I was just doing 3 things, very coordinated, and saying, okay, I've done this. Okay, what's the next thing? I'll just check through their stuff. The first time this happened, it happened by accident. Honestly, it happened by accident. I just happened to check the contact us, we requested information and downloaded the brochure. And I was like, okay, does this work for another school? And I tried it and I was like, hey, this didn't work. It didn't work for some schools, honestly. It didn't work for some schools. But I got like 5 from that alone, And it got to a point where I started having multiple application fee waivers from schools. I'm like, I have 5 already, it's fine. And someone tells me, okay, I'm applying to this school. I'm like, hey, hope you've not paid the application fee. Okay, I have a waiver. Do you want? Yes. And I give to them. Like, so that's another way that, you can like basically organize yourself in such a way that you're open to some of these opportunities. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Franklin. I think we've learned a lot so far. Some of the tips we've gotten so far, like where you want to get your app fee waivers, Lane is important. You can get some of them from Lane sessions that are coming up by August. If you look into our chat box, you will see some information there on that. You can get from going to the school website, attending events, MBA Africa tour, and all these other places. But one very important thing I want to ask, getting an app fee waiver. How do I put it? What's like the best practice to go after it if you're going through the direct school link? For MBA tours, you're already there, you visit the booths because it's available to you. But when you're approaching the schools directly, what tips can you give us? What kind of practices do we have to imbibe in order to be able to actually clinch that app fee waiver? Anybody can help us here? Franklin, Francis?
Okay, so for me, what I found to be most helpful was identifying the decision maker in the room. So typically, when you attend an admissions webinar, don't go and be attending webinars on, fun places in so campus and expect an app fee waiver. No, you're not going to get it. I'm sorry. Know the places to go to. Like, do your research. You know that when they call something international applicant webinar, I know that Georgia Tech has one coming up because I've done a lot of democratizing with one of my emails. I was like, just send everything to this place. Anybody who needs information, I'll just go to the school and get all the details. Oh, you want to get into consulting? Okay, this is the webinar they had on this day. I can share the link to the recording. Go and get it. In the room. So typically, let me be very practical. You join a session. Let me pick a random school. Let's say Arizona, and it just happens that you're in an WP Arizona session and you have somebody who is addressing everyone and answering the questions. You basically know that person who is probably a host or a co-host of the session, but she's just there or he's just there smiling and very quiet. And then when the person talking, she can answer maybe things around STEM designation. They typically refer to that person. Usually, I tend to notice that that's the person who is in charge of deciding who gets an application fee waiver. So all I have to do is do what? Find their full name or maybe just their first name. Go to the school website and get from the email directory, get their email or do some, there's this word that we used to use in Lane, but I think they said the word has a negative connotation, so we don't use it anymore. I won't actually mention it, but some people know. So I'll basically search them on LinkedIn and find their email. All I just have to do is shoot that person an email and say, oh, thank you so much for something they actually said in the webinar. And this is where you have to be very, very honest. This person said this thing at this webinar, and then you learned a lot from this, and you're a first-gen African student who is really motivated to get into this school. I want to get an application fee waiver. What usually happens is they would check if you actually attended that webinar. Okay, you were there, check. They would check the applications portal if you have started your application to that school. If it happens in the effects that you have started your application to that school, what usually follows is they would now respond to my email. And then I would also notice that somebody viewed my LinkedIn profile from that school, but on private mode. And it just takes me to put 1 + 1 together to know that this was the person who checked me out and basically, saw that I was in that whole process. And they would follow up with oh, hi, thank you for reaching out, Franklin. We have applied this application fee waiver to your account, or this is the code or whatsoever, and that's a done deal.
Thank you so much. Okay, so one other thing I would like to ask is, out of all the many waivers you got, how did Lane play a helping hand in helping you get?
Miriam. So Frances actually wants to jump on.
Oh, okay. Please go ahead, Francis.
Okay, yeah, sorry, my network threw me out. Well,
sorry about
glad
that.
to be back. And I think Franklin has done justice to that. Yeah, to that question. The network became bad. There was this question I wanted to answer. I don't know if I can go ahead with it.
No, please do. Go ahead. What question was that, please?
All right. So you asked, what do you think really did it for you in the admission process, right? In the whole, aside the fee waivers, and what do you think really did it for you in landing the opportunity we all got? Yeah. So I wanted to say that aside the energy and all we've been talking about which I think really plays a key role. A second, I think that really helps is owning your story, the originality of your story. So someone told me something that there are so many excellent people, there are so many people with good grades, good GMAT scores, good IELTS, excellent 2-1, first class, whatever you have. There are so many people with it. But what these people are looking at is, what is it about you that is fascinating? What's intriguing? So the only thing that can bring it out best, this is really what I think, is your originality. So since it's your story, own it, own your story. And when you own it and you're going to share it at the interview sessions and all of that, make it very interesting, make it very, and the excitement will be in your voice because it's your story, it's yours. You didn't copy it from anywhere. I mean, you can get inputs from people prior the time, ideas and all of that, but the originality of your story is yours. Make it unique, make it special. I think it really helps. And of course, after all said and done, God always plays the final role in landing whatever opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, talking about playing roles, I was asking, how did Lane help in getting those app waivers that you got? Hello, Francis, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So, you know, I said Lane played a very key role. So from Lane, I think I got up to 5, if not more. I can't really put a number to it, but for every Lane session you attend, any of those webinars, you're going to, for most of them, you're going to get an app. Once you're able to write your name on the register, so the most times there's this link they share where you put in your name on the attendance sheets. So you definitely get an app from there. So Lane played a very important role in getting some of the application fee waivers. Yeah, it did.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Frankly, please, can you just give us a bit of how Lane helped in getting your app waivers, please?
So Lane helped so much in the sense that before Lane, I had like a very narrow vision of basically what the MBA. I thought it was wham, bam, get into the MBA. Thank you, ma'am. I was like, okay, like it's not like that, because the first set of events we had, which were just, events where we actually had like people sharing their experience, the experience Lean webinars, a lot of them, I could see that, there's a lot to this thing that is more than that. And so at that time, I developed a very genuine interest in Lean, and I started to volunteer. So I started in the research team, which now is part of a core team in programs and innovation, which Olamide heads. And from the research team, I moved to the social media team, moved to the partnership and engagement team, and for like 10 weeks, or maybe 6 to 7 weeks, I basically had a direct interface with a lot of the people, especially during MBA for Africa. So I would be the one asking the questions, asking the admissions directors of a lot of these schools the question. So afterwards, I just noticed that some of them would email me and say, we also saw that you've taken an interest in our program, obviously because I have researched them and I'm also in their database. So it was sort of like a cross-referencing. So Link gave me that very organic visibility that did not look like I was, it wasn't forced or anything. It just meant that every webinar I showed up, everyone, basically you show up, and it gave that visibility, it gave the knowledge And Lane has so many, sages and gurus, like even before our own cohorts, like so many people have so much information to share in terms of, some people will just tell you, please don't apply to that school. Just take it from me, don't apply to that school. And then you'll be like, I'll see for myself. And then you go and see for yourself. And then you would see the reason why they told you not to apply to that school. Not because it's not a great program, but it just might not be the best program for you at that point in time. So definitely Lane played a huge, huge role, especially, helping me with the information to like information gathering and springboarding. And not to mention LAMP, the mentorship program, pair me with a mentor. Like, do you know what the blessing it is to have somebody at your disposal every week saying, where are you on your essays? Where are you on your test scores? Have you done this one? Have you written this? Let me see. Oh, that sentence doesn't look good. Like, it was such a blessing. And then having that community of people who I knew that, were also having sleepless nights, trying to nail mental math or, word problems in GRE and all those other stuff, that really just gave me like a sense of belonging and looking, okay, I can actually do this thing. And yeah, so huge factor.
Thank you so much. So you heard it here first. Lane is one of your best resources throughout your MBA journey. Olamide just posted something for our LAMP mentorship. So if you could just go to the chat and check it out. So I have a question personally. There's something that keeps recurring that it's really important that we note: networking. Now, we know that you can get app waivers from somebody gifting it to you, and you have to do that through networking. So normally on LinkedIn, you might have profiles of people that work in your career line or your chosen path or the schools you like to go to, but not everybody's like putting it up that they are applying to this school and you should be able to like reach out to them. So how do we get to meet people who might be applying to the same program you're applying to and possibly get these app waivers from them in case they have decided not to apply to that school any longer?
That's an interesting question, honestly. And I say that because, first of all, the word networking can be very ambiguous, and sometimes, a lot of times, gets lost in transit. So networking could be, reaching out to someone. Networking could be, appreciating someone's work, on LinkedIn and saying, okay, this is what, and the person asks, okay, what do you do? Okay, I'm currently looking to apply into the program that you're currently in. I would definitely say one of the ways that you can go about that from a very organic point of view is find out common grounds. So even though I networked with every nationality, depending on basically like the reason I was reaching out. So for some schools, I already had like, I had already networked with like the consulting club president, vice president, the vice president of like engagement and all those things, to basically understand, the mindset of the program, how those programs literally work, from a very honest perspective. And it really helped in like the application in general. So I wasn't fazed when I write my story or reach out to people. It happened very organically because that was basically what I was looking for. So if reaching out to people, I could literally be in a session and scroll through the participant list and see a Toy or a Chibuza somewhere or a Nina somewhere or even a Chanel, but she has a epic last. What I would do is I'll just check her out on LinkedIn and see, okay, is she someone who is that the same person that probably was in the session? I'd reach out and say, I saw that you applying to the school. I would like, from what you know and all that. And you'll be surprised the amount of information that you would get, because I was interested in building like, diversity forums in whatever school I eventually got into. I was keen on finding out who were the people in charge of the existing diversity forums in those schools, as pertaining to like Africans and all this stuff. And those things always work to your advantage in the end, even if you don't get into the MBA program of that school.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Francis, please, any more tips you can share with us?
Yeah, I think Franklin has done justice to that. So networking is key. One of the places that I really got a lot of resources from was from the community in Lane. So I reached out to a lot of people, and one good thing about Lane, or the people I've met at Lane, is that they are always willing. Most of the time, you find people willing to guide you or listen to you and give you tips on what next to do. So I know that when I had an interview with Macombs, I wanted someone to introduce me to to current students I could speak with, as current Nigerian students I could speak with, and all that. It was from Lane. I just chatted, one or two people off, and I know Samuel connected me with someone else connected me with another person. So even when you don't get all you don't get a positive response from someone, just move to the next. But for Lane, you can be sure of always getting that warmth. But aside from Lane, on LinkedIn, yeah, on LinkedIn, check people, connect with people, introduce yourself. Say, even when you are at webinars, when you are at events, say hi. I didn't know someone else was doing what I was doing. Franklin just mentioned it. I look for a name that sounds somehow familiar, and I just say hi, hello. So we are doing this, right? Just connect. Just try to be friendly with people. You get tons of information from there.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, our panelists, for sharing all the tips and insights. And I'm hoping we learned a lot. So I don't know, Alamide, is there any additions?
Yeah, so okay, so before we go, we would like to take a few questions. Then I will just round up with a few things that people need to note before we leave the session. So if you have any questions, please kindly unmute yourself. We're very happy to help and also answer questions as well.
Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Michelle. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Oh, okay. So you talked about most of these MBA tours happening in October. And most times when you're applying for MBAs, people generally advise you to like try the earlier rounds. Yeah, I mean, is October not like late for people who want to like try like the first rounds and all?
Okay, so I think that's a very good question, because when you think about the rounds, it depends on the schools. So I think there are very few schools that actually have early rounds, but depending on the region. So European schools generally have their first rounds, I think, around September. I know Harvard, Emory, Kellogg as well also have theirs in September, but majority of the schools actually have their round ones in October. So the idea of attending some of these sessions in October and still networking with the schools is that you've done your GRE or you've done your GMAT exams, you've already started networking with them. And then when you have an opportunity to be able to attend some of these conferences to further get in front of them, like Franklin and Frances were talking about, where they didn't stop, right? Not just from attending one session. I saw these guys every single session, like even if it was in the middle of the night, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Yes, the times are always awkward, because when you think about time difference, you're always going to be against their time. But every single one of us actually did it. So attending some of these webinars and sessions and conferences, you don't stop at one, you continue to do it. If you know that you're really determined, you want to be in their face, you want to show that, yes, you're really committed to knowing every single thing about their programs. Like I had admission officers who knew my name. In fact, whenever I said I recommended somebody to them, yes, they'll say, yes, Ola, do you understand? So it just means that you become their friend, you build a relationship with them. But it doesn't start and stop with just one webinar. You continue to do it. Even when I got application fee waivers, I did not stop, right? They knew me and they continue to know me. So it's never too late. I know Forte starts late as well. All of them primarily start around September, October, but it doesn't mean the webinars for Lane, the MBA for Africa sessions that Frances and Franklin were talking about as well, that those are actually starting from next month. But schools are also already started their webinars as well. So because I know they started their application rounds, application processes and conversations early. So schools are already doing that right now. So you don't need to wait for those tours for you to be able to join and engage some of these schools. But I think you should start by registering on the school's website, like Franklin already said, reaching out to alumni, current students, admitted students via LinkedIn, start networking, start getting to know them, because it is really this summer that people really have to do as much work as much as possible. So I would say that if you have not written your GRE on GMAT, that might be a bit more challenging for you, but it's better for you to focus on writing your exams. But if you've gotten that out of the way and you're ready to apply, start networking, start doing your research on the schools, go into those sessions showing that you are very interested, you have information, more information. And another thing is that when you go to those webinars, I think people don't talk about the type of questions to ask. Please don't ask questions that you can see on their websites. It's not exactly what they are looking out for, right? They are looking for people that have done their research. They are looking for people who can bring more to the table apart from that as well. So ask interesting questions, ask questions about the culture, ask questions around how international students have been able to adjust, especially COVID, things that they would really, really be happy to answer, or be able to help you with intelligent questions that would really show that, okay, you know what, this person has. Now, I've also seen a lot of people go into sessions, like the first question they will ask is that, do you have free scholarship? We see that a lot in Lane. But I think it's not the best way to start engaging conversations, especially if you're considering a school, for example, because scholarships, yes, you can get scholarship information from their websites, but scholarships are primarily merit-based. So if you've written your GRE or your GMAT, so you can come to the table and say, oh yes, I wrote my exam. This is introduce yourself, be ready to introduce yourself, sell yourself. Franklin mentioned that over and over again. Like, be willing to sell yourself, which means that you've done a lot of homework about who you are, what you bring to the table, why you want an MBA, because that's primarily why they would find you very interesting, or they would say that that's what makes you stand out. Because Frances also talked about this as well. It's about owning your story, who you are, and don't be shy to say it anywhere, because even when you go to those tours, those Forte sessions, MBA for Africa, MBA tours, some schools will tell you every single person in the room to introduce themselves. And you have to know how to introduce yourself, because you would be in the midst of people from different parts of the world. So you need to know at least your elevator pitch has to be there, who you are, where you come from, what you bring to your table, your educational background, why you want an MBA, what you want to do in the short term, your long term. Those are things that really make you stand out as a candidate. But I think you should start now if you have the opportunity to, if you have already done your GRE or your GMAT exams. Yeah, but it's never too late. But also, if you're on the Lane group, I've also been sharing links around some of these conferences that are coming up as well. We also include it on the opportunity sheet that Franklin mentioned for Lane as well. So you can always access some of this information.
Thank you, Olamide. I just want to add, you've already mentioned that consistency is key. So when you show up at more than one webinar of a school, it really shows that you're interested. So what I want to add is that you can start your application without submitting. I think the application fee part is usually at the tail end. That's that's always the final thing you do, paying for the application before you submit. So just get everything ready so that you know that get your essays, you've gone through the whole application process. You know that the only thing remaining for you is just the application fee payment, so that once you get your fee waiver, you can impute it and submit. Then some other schools, when you have already done that, some schools are going to reach out to you and say, we can say that you have started an application with us and your application is 85% complete, but you've not yet submitted. Then you have the opportunity to tell them, yes, I'm all ready, all set to come to your school, but I'll need an application fee waiver. So I just thought to add that.
Thank you very much, Frances, for that. So do we have anyone else who has any questions? So Adibowale, you can actually unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you so much, Lane. So my question would be, talking about applying for, seeking for application fee waiver, can you start requesting for such even when you don't have your GRE or GMAT score? And at what point can you start having that, or can you start pushing for application fee waiver?
So you don't need your GRE or your GMAT to actually ask for application fee waivers. You just need to show interest, genuine interest, and know why you want to apply to that school. So Frances just talked about how you know that you are interested in that school, you are being consistent, they can see you, and you are showing up for yourself in every session. And so you don't need to, except you are applying in another year, as long as you're applying in that current cohort. So for example, people are applying for class of 2024 now, starting from this September. As long as you're applying for this current cohort that people are actually starting to apply for, yes, you can ask for an application fee waivers. So just ensure that you register on the school's website for all the webinars. So they always have webinars coming up. Some of these conferences, the moment they announce the conference dates, they always allow you to register. Like MBA Tour for Africa already released dates for African countries. So for Nigeria, for Ghana, for South Africa, for Kenya, please go and register. Like those ones are already there as well. 40 already has those. And we would continue to share some of these conferences and opportunities as well. Once we release the calendar for the MBA for Africa sessions on Lane, you would also have access to be able to register to that as well. But right now, schools already have sessions, webinars for the application processes that you can actually join right now. So get them to know you, fill in your details. Like, I don't think there's anything that I would say more than that. Ensure that you get your email into their database, because that's the only way you can access information. So they will send you the webinars, updates, or we have upcoming events. All the schools, they already have their calendars out. At least I have checked for majority, because they already released their rounds. And once the schools have already released their round dates, for round 1, for round 2, for round 3, you already know that, yes, they are ready. So they've already started hosting sessions. Just ensure that you actually get in on that database. Go and register wherever it is on their websites that has to do with that as well. Franklin also mentioned that you can download their brochures. For you to download brochures on schools' websites, you also have to fill in your details as well. Some of them would ask you for you to upload your resume as well. So LinkedIn profile, so general things, your email address, your phone number, LinkedIn profile, resume. For some of them, they don't ask for more than that. Also look out for some of them as well that are hosting diversity conferences, because some of these schools actually are looking for diverse candidates from Africa and other parts of the world. So some of these sessions as well, because I know schools like Talk, Darden, and some other schools actually offer application fee waivers when you join some of those diverse conferences that they create as well. So that's also something you need to know. But know the school's calendars. Ensure that you know in the ins and outs, like you know the names of all the admission officers who are their main recruiters for the schools, because they are the same set of people you keep seeing at some of these conferences and everywhere you go. So yeah, but I hope I answered that question. So Temitope, you can go on mute. I'm sorry, you can go off. You can ask your question, Temitope.
Okay, good evening. This is Temitope.
Hi,
Can you hear me very well?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my question goes like this. Does between using application fee waiver and paying for the application fees, does paying for the application fees strengthens your application in the process? That's my question.
Can you repeat that question?
Okay, I want to say, for instance, you have a choice school that you really want to go to. So now you have between choosing application fee waiver and paying for the schools. Does paying for this for the application fee really strengthens your application instead of using the application fee waiver, or is both the same? I just want to understand from experience.
I think Olamide, I think I understand his question.
Yeah.
So you're saying, does paying the application fee instead of asking for a waiver, does this strengthen your chances of getting it right?
Yes, absolutely. That's the
So
question.
just know that they can collect your money and still reject you in a very beautiful way. In fact, see, it plays no part in it. It just means that you have $200 for free. This person does not have, and they want this person who does not have to still be able to apply. So do not think that you're paying $200 would make up for a lackluster score, resume, essay, profile, LinkedIn, whatever, or just your general way of communicating. So you have to bring your best self to the table. So short answer, no, it does not. And getting a waiver as well does not make them see you in a bad light. Me, I got everything. See, forget. There's no, as far as you know that you cannot afford to pay for it at the time. Because I was applying in the heat of COVID. The people who had gotten in the MBA admits last year were not even sure whether they would be able to go to school. People were losing their jobs. That's when a lot of schools started to go test optional. Even Michigan Ross came down from their high horse and became test optional. So at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? There's nobody has this money. If we are being honest with ourselves, nobody has this money. Take advantage of the app fee waivers. You're interested in the school, apply, show your best. And if I might add, because they said the stuff starts in October, doesn't mean you have to wait for October to start networking. Just like Olamide said. In fact, let me tell you how bad it was. If I missed a particular session, maybe MBA tour for Africa, I missed it, and then some schools have already gone. When Asia Pacific is doing their own, I'm joining, forget. See, they did not say that it's only for Asia Pacific. It just means that they are focusing the majority of it's just for they're focusing on that demographic for that and they're basically selecting schools that most people in that demographic would be interested in applying. So when you're looking at MBA tour for Africa, you'd see a lot of HBS, GSBs, and all those other schools. That's because typically we have a great representation in all those schools. So because you have missed them, because I know they did one in May, they did one in February, they did one in April as well. Yes. They continue to do it. So just find out the one that is next. Apply, register, go in for this. And then don't just go to the MBA tour. Ensure that you go through the website and find out the best way to utilize the MBA tool. That's another great question you can ask an admission officer. How best can we network with you? Most schools prefer when you enter their booth, you go to each of those PDFs they have. I would download every single one of them because I need to read up on placement, employment reports, diversity of the class profile, everything like that, because it's important to me. And that can only happen if I'm interested in the school, right? So before you know it, you have gotten your app fee waiver before they are doing the Africa thing. And then you can just join that one to just basically network with everyone who was on the session, right?
Yeah. So there's something Franklin actually did mention is the fact that you shouldn't wait. And you can really start early, because I know schools, and when he mentioned that, it just reminded me that majority of the schools that I applied to, I actually connected with them when they were doing round 3 and round 4 applications for the previous cohort. So when I was ready to submit my applications, they knew me because I had already disturbed them. I know Emory, I probably joined 10 of their sessions. In fact, I had every information about them, right? Dardin, I had a one-on-one session with Dardin in the previous cohorts, I think when we were doing round 3, and they had they waived their they waived application fee waivers, they waived GRE, GMAT. But to be honest, it's never like you can never start early and regret it, because I feel like it gives you more time to research, to get to know the schools, to get to know everything. In fact, you would have more details than everybody else when it comes to writing your application, because you've joined so many sessions. And then there's something called information overload, which we don't talk about that often, but select the information that is relevant to you. If you like information, yes, pack everything and sure. But ensure that when you are joining these sessions as well, you take away something that you can use to drive conversations with the school, with the alumni, with current students, so that they know that you've done your work, like you've done your homework, you're really interested. So you can name drop whatever it is. Oh, I joined this session. And that's how I was entering people's LinkedIn as well. So, oh, I was seeing panelists who were current students. I would go into their inbox on LinkedIn and say that, oh, thank you very much. I enjoyed your session on this, blah, 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 because they were panelists, right? It's an easy way to actually engage with them, taking away from something that they actually talked about during their sessions as well. But yeah, that's cool. So I think we need to give 3 more people. So there's
There's a question by Emmanuel in the chat. Can you check it?
Okay, so I'll respond to Emmanuel. Sorry, please, can I unmute AB, because the person had been trying to. AB, can you please ask your question?
Yeah, so thank you guys for this session. So before now, I had a couple of questions, and a number of them has been talked about. So I want to ask a question that might sound stupid, but I think is very important for me. Yeah. So let's say you join a session and then you want to ask a question in a session, you want to get yourself to be known, you want to put yourself in their faces. So most of the time that I found out in my professional career, you tell me something and I understand it immediately. I don't have to ask you a question before I understand it better, right? So for that, what I'm just saying in essence is that most of the time I don't need to ask people questions to understand what they're asking me to do. I don't know if that makes sense. So if I have to put it this way, in a more subtle way, can you walk me through how to ask questions essentially that can trigger the people's interest in you, or they can show that you're really interested? Yeah, because most of them, it might sound like I'm not interested, but I've gotten the main gist, right, and I can work with that.
Okay.
Okay. Let me jump in on that.
Okay. Cool.
I don't know if I can.
Yes, please. Yes. Please.
Yeah. So the questions you need to ask are not necessarily questions on what they've presented. It's supposed to be questions on the admission process, on their MBA program, on opportunities generally. So it's not as if you're asking based on a subject in mathematics that has been taught. So you don't have anything confusing, you get it straight up. You can ask something about how has, the easiest one that comes to mind is how has COVID impacted the MBA program? How has it impacted your recruitment in the last session? Going virtual, what was the impact? Do you think just something that shows that your brain is working? They are using this to test your mental capacity, to think, to see how far and widely you think and you read, and you're really interested, because from the question you ask, someone can gauge you and say, okay, this person is this, and place you somewhere intellectually. So the questions, Olamide had said, not something you can see on their websites. And if I'm to add, not really something that they've already presented, only if you're really confused about what they've said. But think outside the box. Think about the MBA program. Think about international opportunity. Think about things what's happening in this financial sector, how does it affect this, just something intelligent that can stimulate their minds and yours too.
So just to add to what Frances said, I feel like a lot of people struggle with even driving conversations at first. And I think that was your first question, right? I think you need to, they also don't like a case where you feel like you know it all. Actually, I realized that most admissions guys don't like that type of personality. So I feel like you need to also start thinking about yourself as well. Start driving small conversations and small talks with people that you know, because Frankly was talking a lot around coffee chats. And if you cannot drive small conversations, you can't actually have coffee chats with people, because it's not like a Q&A session where you have your notepad and stuff. You need to be able to talk to people. They need to know that you have a personality. They need to know that you're a person. Do you understand? Beyond who you are in your 9 to 5. So I think you need to start thinking about small things. And I think another easy way to drive conversations, even when you are in some of those sessions, is that when you listen to something that people say, some of those MBA guys, for example, some of those admissions officers would actually come in and tell you about themselves. They'll tell you, I love a dog, I love this, I play football, I'm a mother of 3, they're always relatable and common things you guys can actually align on, to be honest, that you can use to drive conversations. You can even build on it. So for example, like if you were a mother, no, I'm not saying you're a mother, but like, I mean that if you were a mother of 3, for example, and an admissions officer is actually talking about, or the fact that she's actually a mother as well, like they always introduce themselves in general. So they bring their business, they bring their professional life and also their personal life, because that's how business professionals should. So you can actually you can ask a question around parenthood. Some of times they enjoy it. If maybe the person tells you that they love playing soccer and stuff, you can try to find out what are the extracurriculars that the person enjoys in that program. So look for avenues where you can tie your personal interest with them as well, because they find that extremely, extremely exciting. They see that you are beyond just their interest, beyond just your professional interest, right? You might have a common ground. So some of them can tell you that maybe they studied agriculture in their undergrad as well. Even if they're admissions officers, they also have dreams as well. You can ask them questions that you can relate to and say that, oh, I see that you actually said you did this. Do you understand? This is something I'm interested in as well, but what do you think it's a way for me to be able to pivot or transition? Those things are, it's a way of driving conversation, to be honest. And it doesn't start and end at this point, because even when you get into your MBA program, even when you're trying to get an internship, a job, you are still going to continue this process as well. So I just wanted to add that to what Frances said, but I hope this really helps.
Olamide, I'd
Yeah,
like,
it does.
if it's okay.
What?
I'd like to say something just for a minute.
Yes, Ola. Yeah, sure.
The reason why I want to say something is because this is huge in the US. If you don't learn anything else in this webinar, learn this one. The US is big on networking and connections. Everything. Like if you think we do tribalism and nepotism in Nigeria, they are very tribal here. They take it to the next level. That's why they only relate to people from their schools or their zip codes. Like it is a very big thing. I'm trying to recruit now. Every time I apply for a job, I will go on LinkedIn and find at least 5 people that work in that company. I'll message them. I could ask for a mock interview. I could ask questions, but because they are so big on, I could ask for a recommendation. They are really big on connecting with people. So, because it was something that was drummed in our heads in our career office, was that it is not your local country. As long as you are minimally qualified for a job, the most important thing is they want to know that you can connect with people from different countries, that don't look like you, that don't sound like you, and are comfortable in that space. So please take it very, very seriously. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ola. So AB, I hope we were able to help you there. So the next person is Ademola. I know you have a question. Your hand has been raised for a while.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks, it's been a very insightful session. So my question is, I mean, everybody has been on about schools you're interested in, right? So I want to ask, what are the factors that drive this interest? Is it just primarily based on, oh, I love tech, I'll go to Stanford, I'm a finance guy, I'll go to Wharton, I love consulting, I'll go to INSEAD, so what are the factors that drive this interest? I'm just curious. Thanks.
Okay, so I wouldn't answer that question here, because the last session we had a 2-hour session last weekend around this. So I would drop a link to the YouTube video where you can, because there's a lot that actually goes into school selection and your interest into programs that I don't think we can actually cover with the little time that we have, but I'm just going to drop the link so you can watch the recording from that session, and hopefully that would be able to help you. Yeah. So can we have the next person? Sorry, who's that? Franklin, do you want to answer?
Yeah, so I was just going to say something, right? So Demola, very simple and short answer. There are things like, for me, I don't like extreme cold. So I knew that going to a school in Alaska is out of it. Like simple, the littlest things. But like Olamide said, we had a full session last week, and definitely head over to the YouTube channel for any other person who's interested in that as well.
Okay, so I think the next person is Shegun Aziz. Hi, Shegun. Do you want to unmute yourself to ask your question? Okay, so Oyinlola, I think you can go next if we can get through to Shegun.
Good evening, Olamide.
Hi, good
Can you hear
evening.
me? Yeah.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, good evening, Samuel. Good evening, Franklin, and good evening, Miriam. Yeah, thanks for the platform. So this is like the first time I would be joining Lane, and I have no interest, like I've not had a real interest in running NBA because I felt, okay, let me just start working and all of that, and man. So I graduated with 3.5 for CGPA out of 5. And maybe due to health challenges anyways, but like it had really deterred my hopes of, say, getting scholarships and, say, furthering, like doing a master's or an MBA, and like it really, like it has been a major like factor in my decision making in terms of going for an MBA. So I really want to let me clarify that. Then secondly, I want to know, like, okay, the whole checklist I need to have to start out the whole process. I don't have a passport. I've not done any international exams, like no essays, no SOPs, like all of that. Like, how can Lynn really help? Like, do I really have it open? All of that. So that basically.
Okay.
To be honest, okay, so Frances, before you go, I think you asked a lot of questions, and this because this is your first time on our webinar. I would ask you if you are actually on our Telegram group. I think that's the first question that I have for you.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
So I would share a link. I would definitely say you should register because there are a lot of resources and there are a lot of steps you actually have to take before that. We won't be able to answer everything, but I would allow Frances to actually jump in to actually answer. But please ensure that you actually register and you join the Telegram group. So you have to be a member to be able to join the Telegram group, and then all the other information will be accessible to you once you actually join the Telegram group on your next steps, basically.
All right. Thanks so much.
Okay, so let me quickly answer what I think I can answer, the few I can touch on. For whenever you feel there's a shortfall on anything, on any part of application, either your GPA, as you mentioned here, or whatever it is, make sure you look for something to make it up. It must be something that will show that you're not just this, and that's why the admission process, they don't just look at your undergrad, they look at the test scores, IELTS, GMAT, in case where you apply with it. They look at your essay, they look at your interview where they have a communication with you. So you have more than one avenue to show that I am more than this. So if you had any reason that affected this part of you or part of your application, use something else to strengthen it. People, that shouldn't be a limitation to you at all. If you put in the right energy into every other aspect of the application process, even with it, two people are getting their are getting their full fundings and getting their scholarships and getting the admissions. So there must be something showing that, okay, here, even in the application, they give an opportunity for you to explain what you upload. So if there is any reason, there's usually a third essay option for you to provide any explanation. So whatever the GPA or whatever it is you think is a setback, it shouldn't actually deter you from pursuing your admission, because there are so many ways to make it through. But just as Olamide said, register with Lane, you see more than enough information being shared and people's real life stories and practical examples on how to go about the process.
Thank you very much, Francis. Oyinlola, I shared the link. Please ensure that you actually register and you get access to the Telegram group. The process is pretty much everything that we've shared. So if you also need access to, we have the Lane Pod, which is actually our resource, our podcast where Samuel and the team has actually worked on a lot of resources to help you from when you even start thinking about an MBA, what to do. Then we have the YouTube resources as well, where we've done a series of webinars over the past, I would say 18 months that has actually recorded there as well, including some of the sessions with for MBA for Africa as well, this weekly webinars that we have. So we also have our LinkedIn page as well and our Instagram page where we share as much resources on the processes. I know just last week we were talking about how to some scholarships to actually to apply for as a Black person, how to write your stories, so many resources and information that Lane is actually making available to everyone. So I feel like if you are actually very, very keen on applying to your MBA, Lane is like your number one go-to resources. And I'm saying this because a lot of us went through different websites, Clear Admits, Poets and Quants, Accepted, and all of this information. But everything that Lane does is actually targeted towards helping African students. So we gather all those resources. We ensure that a lot of us are volunteering for Lane, sharing our experiences, sharing our knowledge. We have the mentorship program where current and MB and alumni are actually also helping you through your process as well. If you don't have funding, we're trying to help you ensure that you get application fee waivers. This session was primarily for that. And part of the reasons why application fee waivers are very important is because the foreign exchange is, well, to be honest, if I talk about Nigeria, there's Ghana, there are different African countries, but FX is never going to be on the good side for Africans as a whole. So when you think about that extra cost and you want to apply to some of the best programs, you can't apply to just one program because the odds of you getting into one program is very slim because thousands of people are actually applying. So we're trying to ensure that we help you get into the best programs, stress-free. Well, that's inevitable, and also saving your money as well, and also helping you to back scholarships as much as possible. So that's why Lane is here and all the resources that we have. So next week we have another webinar next week where we are teaching you and also talking about how to network, because we talked a lot about networking today. So the next session we have next weekend is about networking and also crafting your MBA story. And that session would actually be, okay, yes, I will be on the panel session as well. So it will be good to get some insights and hopefully see familiar faces next week as well. But in the meantime, I just want to say a few things. Number one takeaway, apart from everything we've talked about, is that you should definitely, if you're applying, please register and submit your application for the mentorship program, which is LAMP. If you have not registered on Lane, we've shared the link over and over again, so please ensure that you actually do that. There's going to be a recording for this session because this session is being streamed on YouTube. So once you have access, you can actually check and go back to this session for some of the nuggets that were shared as well. And then apart from that as well, just ensure that you continue to check Lane. We have the opportunities sheets. We have so many resources that we're actually sharing every day. Follow Lane on LinkedIn, check YouTube, check our Instagram pages as well. And just ensure that you continue to engage the community, you network as much as possible, ask questions. We also have a GRE and GMAT prep group. So you can only join that if you have access to our Telegram page as well. So that's also also another community that is very collaborative for everyone that is actually on this journey as well. But we're here to help as much as possible. Thank you for everyone. Thank you everyone for joining this session. Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, Franklin. Thank you, Francis, Samuel, Ola, and everyone else that joined this session and is also part of the Lane team as well. Thank you very much, guys. If you have any questions, please, I would be happy to. Yeah. Thank you very much. So what's the title of the podcast? So the title of the podcast is, it's called Lane Pod. Okay, so I think that's already.
Lamide, if I could say one thing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, somebody asked a question about Georgia Tech. So Georgia Tech has the International Students webinar coming up soon. So you might want to, register on their website so that you can get the emails. Alternatively, we'll be dropping that on the Telegram group. So if you want access to that, you would have to join the Telegram group to, access that. Yeah. So just wanted to say.
Thank you very much, Franklin. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye. Thank you very much, everyone.